Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, in a beautiful kingdom ruled by a compassionate and majestic family, and in that family was a little prince, and his name was Little Prince Panther. They gave him that name because everywhere he went, he wore the same 4 items his mother gave him as gifts: his necklace, his boots, his gloves, and of course, his princely panther cub cowl. Now, Little Prince Panther was a very well-rounded boy. He read all sorts of books, was very studious in all of the sciences, including the arts. He had many friends.
Sorry.
He played all sorts of sports, and even took self-defense classes, but was told only to use them if absolutely necessary. Good job. But the most important thing about him was that he had a big heart. Now, his friends lived just outside of the city, and over the sea, and in the little town of Old Wound's Harbor, named after its founder, Edwin Oldwound, the famous tonic water tycoon and infamous alternate factorian. And like Edwin Oldwound's statue, the town had a lot that needed to be fixed. Unlike his friends that lived there, there were those in Old Wound's Harbor that often dismissed anyone that they considered small. But this land still had a great deal of potential and a great deal of good people. And it was this that Little Prince Panther did not overlook. Now every day, as Little Prince Panther would go out and into this land, his mother the Queen would talk to him and tell him what she would often tell him every day as he entered this place.
Be careful, my son. Though you are a prince, others will treat you differently. Don't get into any arguments, even if you are right. Use your strength to walk away knowing who you are. You are beautiful. You are capable. You are lovable. You are worthy. You are the son of kings and a child of the Most High, and there is nothing that can prevail against that.
So Little Prince Panther set out the same route he took every day to the city. Down the road, through the forest, over the water, hurtling the rocks as he often had to do, until finally he came into the city.
Those are right nice gloves you got there, mate.
But the first person he met was not one of his friends. It was a little boy, Ulysses Timmy Claude. Now Claude had a habit of talking over people, and with his own personal handheld amplifier, he always had the loudest voice in the room. Another thing about Claude was that when he saw something he wanted, he would often bully his way into getting it. So when Claude saw Little Prince Panther in his nice new gloves, he said,
Those are nice red gloves you got there, mate.
to which Little Prince Panther replied with a thank you, telling him that they were a gift from his mother, the Queen. But Claude, with a grin, said,
Those gloves might look even better on me.
to which Little Prince Panther said to him, As for your belief, I cannot change, but these are and always will be my gloves. At that, Claude said,
Look, mate, you want to give me those gloves, or you want to fight?
Now, even though Little Prince Panther wanted to fight to keep those gloves, he remembered what his mother, the Queen, told him about walking away. So before Claude could yell and scream to the grown-ups, the young Prince Panther disappointedly took off his gloves, leaving the little prince to go home without them. Now, the very next day, Little Prince Panther, not one to let one moment spoil another day, set off for the city to see his friends. Down the road, through the forest, hurtling over the rocks as he often had to do, until he came into the city. But this time, he came across a little girl at the playground, and her name was Misty Ghostal. Now, Misty loved new clothes and everything shiny, and she often had a habit of lying on someone's character to get anything she wanted. And such was the case when she saw Little Prince Panther's shiny necklace.
Like, nice necklace.
Misty said with a sneer. Thank you, was Little Prince Panther's reply.
Let me try it on. It's way more suited for me anyway.
But again, little Prince Panther said, as for your belief, he cannot change. But this is, and always will be, his necklace. But Misty Ghostal told him that if he didn't give it to her, she would yell to the grown-ups that he stole the necklace from her, getting him into trouble. So, little Prince Panther regrettably gave her his necklace, leaving the little prince to go home without it. Now the next day was the same thing, but this time the young prince was heated, and it wasn't long before he came across another rival, and that was Barry Mimo. Now Mimo was quite used to getting his way, and getting attention in any way necessary. He yelled for attention, he yelled for toys, he yelled for anything as long as he was getting what he wanted. Now Mimo loved new shoes, and though his boots were only a few weeks old, he noticed they were not as shiny as little Prince Panther's. So when Mimo saw those boots, he would make sure in getting them, even if it meant lying.
Where did you get those boots?
Grumbled Mimo. Now little Prince Panther had enough, but before he even began to argue, Mimo screamed and cried for the grown-ups.
He won't give me my boots!
Prince Panther couldn't believe it. As he saw the grown-ups coming to rush to Mimo's cries, the little prince hurriedly gave him the boots. This left the little Prince Panther feeling very powerless, and it also made him very angry, and also very sad. He went to his mother and told her everything that happened, and they talked and talked into the night, until he fell asleep. The next day he returned to the city, and he went the same route as he always had, down the road, through the forest, over the water, hurdling the rocks as he often had to do, until he came to the city, and it wasn't long before he not only came across not one, not two, but all three standing there waiting. And there was Claude, and Claude said,
You know the drill, Mike. Hand them over or else we'll have to.
But this time, little Prince Panther said,
No, I will not listen to you. You will not speak over me, and you will not take what's mine away from me. You will not take my voice, and you will not take my power. I am beautiful. I am capable. I am lovable. I am worthy. I am the son of kings, and I am a child of the Most High. And there is nothing that you can say that can prevail against that. And I will not live in the same fear that you do.
and with that, he walked past them with his head held high, the prince who would be king. But he paused, turned to them, and said,
And if you let go of your fear, you can stand with me instead of against me.
His words left them feeling very sad and very small. They thought about them for a very long time. Then they turned, scratched the back of their heads, and crept behind the prince.
You're right. And we're wrong.
They said it's exhausting being me, and they didn't like feeling worried all the time, and that they were tired of being tired. So Claude, Misty, and Mimo returned all of the things they stole, acknowledged their wrongs, and did their best to be better. So it was a start, and that was all little Prince Panther wanted. And in thanks for his offering and friendship, they gave him something in return. They built him a bridge to make it easier to come back and forth from his home to this new neighboring land. because it was always better to build bridges than to build walls. And if we all live the same way that these wonderful, fanciful, and hopeful children do in this wonderful fictional tale, then maybe we could take a cue from them, and maybe we too can all live happily ever after.
Hey fellow YouTubers, if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see more, just click on the button where you can donate and be a paying contributor, where you can see more things like read-alouds, drawing tutorials, virtual field trips, cartoons, and more. See more at Storytime, and I'll see you next time.